And then our last question is from Jessica Grass in Ottawa, from Ottawa. She's in Toronto.
That's right. At least I think so anyway. Yeah. Mr. Ray, in his opening, alluded to the fact that perhaps our democracy is in a state of corrosion. Certainly, this name of the conference, Democracy Boot Camp, suggests that our democracy does need somewhat of a kick. What once was a model for an open and transparent democracy for other countries now appears to be more closed. Whether it be in question period or even the last 2 nights' debates, politicians are delivering, and this is across all parties, very contrived and rehearsed answers, looks like typically from their PR person's notes, without true passion. How does your party propose to put Canada's democracy back on the map?
Another easy question. And Bob, since you were mentioned in the question, perhaps you could answer first, please.
Well, that's a question very close to my heart, because I do find so much of our politics completely contrived and scripted. It drives me nuts. I mean, to watch it, because it's, you get rote answers, you get rote questions. You get rote questions, you get rote answers. And I think it is very frustrating for everybody. I'd love to be able to break it. I try to break it myself. I'm probably the most unscripted person who drives everybody else nuts, but that's how I am. And I think we have to create more of that. I also think we have to figure out how to make the House of Commons work more. Rick talked about, the one bill. We got to figure out how to, and Rebecca said quite rightly, well, how do we do it with all bills? How do we get a sense that we're trying to get at some things, we got to cross some party lines, and we got to move away from where we were and understand that there's a need to find some common ground here. And I just think that's something that Canadians are crying out for. I think one of the reasons why people don't participate as much as they'd like to is, and one of the reasons we find it hard to attract people into politics, is because they look at it and say, I don't want to do that. That's not how I want to spend my time. It's not that I'm disinterested in the public good. I just want to do other things with my time rather than stand up and read a question and watch somebody else read an answer and say, you've just gone through an hour of the Mickey Mouse show which is question period. And I just think it's a crisis in this regard. I don't think people are listening, and I think it's turning people right off. I think people are turned completely off by what they see. And I would include the ads. I'd include the whole process that we all go through. To me, it's something that we have to really, really think about hard as a country.
And then Peggy.
I think there's a number of things that we can do to address this. I mean, I think lately there certainly has been tremendous criticism about growing secrecy. I mean, the Afghan detainees documents, we were very sorry that it was agreed to that these documents would not be made public. I think we do need more openness and transparency in government. Sometimes committees, people can have the kind of working together and cooperation and back and forth, and every so often, as an MP, you feel, yeah, we really got something done there. It made a difference. We actually achieved something, but the cameras are not on. And what people see is question period. And it is very scripted. I think maybe because the cameras are on, the stakes feel very high. It's a gotcha moment, it's a blood sport, and it's not very appealing, frankly. So that's, to my mind, that's not really where the work of Parliament takes place. And there are other more cooperative moments. We believe that the Senate is a problem. I mean, twice we passed a Climate Accountability Act, and the last time it was just punted out by the Senate before there was even a debate. And I think if we had proportional representation, we'd have green representation. I think people would feel that their votes are more included. And I'm out of time.
Here I am being the strict one again. Rebecca and then Rick, please.
Absolutely. As you can probably tell, I'm not scripted very well. I talk off the top of my head, and I think that's how it should be. There should be more interaction with the public. The leaders' debate, we weren't even there, so I only watched half of it. But but my issues weren't there.
Which half?
Not the bad half, which is either of them. To be quite honest. No one got a call in to ask a question. Aboriginal issues weren't there. Women's rights issues weren't there. Poverty elimination issues just weren't there. Nothing for me was there. And when I watch the House of Commons, I can't help but be upset. You have people screaming at each other. And when I was a kid and I was brought there, my dad sat me down and said, you sit in your hands and you shut your mouth. This is where government happens. I don't understand why a child is expected to do more than Parliament is. It's unacceptable. And yes, proportional representation is the way to go. We are one of 3 countries that still hangs on to a form of electing people that was made when they thought the world was flat. Things have changed. Things have changed. All you have to do is look at New Zealand. New Zealand had the same problem as we did with voter turnout. Same system. And instead of having a referendum with a, do you like MMP? And people going, what is MMP? They educated people. They had a royal commission that told them what their choices were and what they currently had. And they selected a system, and now they have no less than 85% voter turnout because they know their vote counts. And that's what's going to get young people to vote. That's what's going to wake Canada up, and that's what's going to make change better in this country.
Thank you. And one thing that struck me in reading these questions is just how many of them were about the health of our democracy. I think we had about 30 teachers submit questions, and I'd say a good half of them were on this subject. So it's a great discussion. And then Rick, please.
Well, I guess I'm gonna disagree somewhat.
Good, because everyone's been getting along so well.
I believe,
That's
like,
just a
I
surface
absolutely think that the Westminster model of parliament that we've adopted from Europe has served this country extremely well. I'm not saying that there isn't the potential for change and that making it better is a good thing, but, rules don't make people better. And if we're going to set a whole new cast of rules, it doesn't improve what our parliament is. The Westminster model is built for 2 things. It's built for majority governments and it's built for minority governments. And we're pretty good at making majority governments work. We've seen that in the past since 1867. Where we run into difficulties is minority governments. It's because we're a young country, and quite frankly, we haven't really learned how to deal with them, because the opposition believes their job is to say no to everything the government does, and the government believes it's their job to pass everything that they move forward as legislation. And we've spent 7 years now with minority governments, and I actually think, I hope we win a majority, don't get me wrong, but I actually believe that we are on the edge of learning and redistinguishing ourselves with respect to how Parliament is going to work. And I see it every day at committee. I sit on the second row, I don't sit in the front row, I'm not a cabinet minister, I'm not the prime minister. I get a chance to work on committee, and I think it is the thing that has taught me the most about how our federal process works. I cannot tell you, in the 5 years that I've been there are far more successes that I'm happy to put my name beside and be proud of than I am of failures. Is question period, yes, but Peggy just said it. It's 45 minutes out of the day. The jobs that we have here, like yours, are more than just 6 or 7 hours a day. You do this job all the time. You're forever trying to... The 2 people sitting beside me, I know Bob and I are diametrically opposed on almost everything, but you know something? Him and I have learned... I never knew. We do a lot of panels together, CBC, CTV. I've grown to respect his perspective a lot better getting to know him as a person. And when Peggy was in the House from 2006 and 2008, whenever she walked by, I said, there goes my favorite NDP member. So do I believe that our government, our political process, I believe it's the best in the world. And I'm going to stand by it in any room that I go into, because I believe that it is. Do I believe it can be better? Absolutely. But when I see the type of people that we elect and the process that we go through, it's evolving. But I'm telling you, it's getting better. And the only way it's going to get better is by us being positive about what our country's all about and what our government's about and getting involved in it, versus taking a step back and criticizing it. Because I can tell you, stand back and criticize, it won't change a thing.
They're here. Well, thank you, everybody. If you could join me in a big round of applause for our